Willow no sabe cinco. What? Fist up today. Fist up today. Oh, fins up, baby. Miami, stand up. This is Fins Talk today. Let's go. Sun up over day. Game day on the brain. From the tailgate smoke to the hard count rain. Orange aqua on my back. Crowd shaking every seat. We talking ball, talking heat. Turn it up, feel that big Fins Talk today. Fins Talk today. Fins up all day from the 305. We ride that way. Bobby Fins Talk. Fins Sammy on the way. Miami, vamos. It's Fins Talk today. Hey. It's Fins Talk today. Who you reppin'? Who you riding? Miami. Who you riding? Dolphins. We break it down, break it live. Every snap, every drive. Hey. Fins Talk today. Fins up all day from the 305. We ride that way. Fins Talk. Fins Sammy on the way. Miami. Vamos. It's Fins Talk today. Hey. Fins Talk today.
Oh, good evening, Dolphin fans, and welcome to Fins Talk today here on FTSN, powered by FTSN and Fins TV, sponsored by Canes, where I'm Bobby Fins Talk, here for the second time today with Fins Sammy now. Sammy of Fins TV. Sammy, how are you, my brother?
Doing good. Very, very happy to be here. It's been a very interesting week, to say the least. New general manager, new head coach. There's some optimism, some frustration, but kind of make everybody happy. So let's talk about it. It's Fins Up today.
Yeah, man, it's Fins Talk today. We'll get into it. Let's see here. Take care of that. So we finally got to hear from our head coach and general manager today. They got to do their their introduction, welcome themselves to the organization, introduce themselves to the fans and to the media. They got to answer some questions. They were guarded in some answers, yet they were very revealing with others. I got to sit down with Fitzstanza earlier today. Immediately after the press conference, we had a lot of people who showed up to the show and got to, give their insight. So that was very cool. Got to hear from everybody. Got to hear from Evan, who I know is watching right now. I appreciate it. He said he is he's in the bullpen because he knows that I'm not feeling too well. So he said, Bobby, I'm the relief pitcher. If you can't get through it, my man, I'll be in the background. I'll let you know. You let me know if you need me. So, Evan, I appreciate you, my man. I know you're back there somewhere watching, but I'm good right now. I got Sammy with me here. And, man, we haven't heard from Sammy. We saw this a little bit in the comments. So we're going to get, hear from Sammy in regards to the press conference. We'll talk more about that. Also going to talk about possible coaching staff for Coach Haf, and we'll get in through the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and so forth. But Sammy, man, let's get into it. Introductions were made. Stephen Ross introduced Sully and Coach Hafley. And, some key things to point out, at least for me, that I dove into it. Again, Troy Aikman still there. He was wearing the pin, as you pointed out. Something that I noticed as well, but you pointed out was that the pin was upside down.
Oh, boy.
But he was wearing the pin nonetheless. He's still here. Job is done, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yet he's still here. And
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And so, but other things to notice, though, they brought up, Dan Silman was there. Stephen Ross's daughters were there. They were taking pictures with the coaching. They took a picture with Hafley and Sully. You had the two daughters, Stephen Ross, together. So that's one thing I want to point out that I didn't talk about on the earlier show that I saw now that I was got a chance to kind of follow up. The daughters and the son-in-law are taking more of a front row, kind of getting more, revealing themselves to the media and to the fan base. So probably getting more hands-on with the Dolphins organization. So something that we may have to, especially with Ross's age, might have to start looking forward to.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we haven't heard from you. You heard from me, so I'm going to let you take the floor, and then we'll get more into Sully and Coach Hafley's press conference. But You got a chance to watch it. We watched it. What was your reaction to Coach Hafley and Sully now that we got to listen to them for the first time as the GM and coach?
First, before that, I need to speak about Steven Ross. But that guy, man, that Dolphins PR department can that just prep the guy, please. He's a billionaire. He's bending over to pick a piece of paper. Come on, talk about that. It was kind of frustrating. I'm just glad that Steven Ross only talks when you hire a coach, because I would love for the Dolphins PR department just to put him in a better situation, because the guy looks so lost sometimes. He so unserious when he talks. I know he has the best interest at heart, but it's really frustrating. But on Hadley and Sullivan, Sullivan, I was kind of surprised about how much emotion he showed. I saw a lot of fans making fun of it. The Dolphins YouTube comments, they were so negative, so much bashing and stuff. Can we just learn how to wait a little bit before we start bashing these guys? I understand the criticism, but the venom in the comments, I was like, wow, I cannot believe this is happening. But I like the passion that Sullivan took over the press conference. It seems like a guy who's really looking for this opportunity for a while. It's been, I think, 20 years in the Green Bay organization. That says a lot. Going up in the organization, one of the best organizations in the NFL for sure. So it's not like he's coming from the Cleveland Browns. So he's been waiting for his time. He paid his dues, and he was very emotional. He knows the moment. He knows the situation he's facing. So I like that about Sully a lot. On Hafley, I can tell you before, I've seen videos of Hafley before. He was shorter than I expected. Let me be honest. I thought he was going to be taller, but that's near here or there. But the guy knows how to speak to a room. He shows a lot of passion. The communication. I'm not going to mention the guy that was here before, but you can see the difference when communicating, going to the point, looking decisive, looking like a leader. I like that a lot. So I was happily encouraged with what I saw today.
Yeah, I first off, in regard to the comments on the YouTube page for the Dolphins as it was going through, I wish people would just enjoy, just sit back and let this run its course. I understand fans are discouraged. I understand they're cautious. I understand, but let me just tell you my reaction to the emotions. To obviously, Sully, the general manager, his emotion as he's talking about his loved ones and the past, the organization, Green Bay, and then having this job. I didn't find it funny. I didn't find it amusing. I'll tell you what I found. I was encouraged. Same thing with Coach Hafley. When I saw them getting choked up, like that tells me they give a damn. I'm going to cuss. I don't say they give a shit. Yeah. I'm not saying that Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel and Gase and whatever didn't care. I know they cared. It's their job. But those guys coming in and seeing that emotion on their face and seeing how fired up and how much this means to them as a fan, a lifelong fan who was raised a Dolphin fan, who will die a Dolphin fan. I don't give a shit who their coach is, what their record is, what their logo is. I will die a Dolphins fan. I hope that one day I'll get to see them hoist a Lombardi trophy. But I can tell you right now, seeing them and seeing how passionate they were about their jobs, how thankful they were to have this job. Every Dolphin fan should be freaking excited that they have a guy. Not saying this is going to be, we don't know what this is going to turn out to be. No, I'm not predicting the future. I'm not predicting these guys. We don't know. We'll have to see it to believe it. But what I could say is that watching those guys up there today and seeing the passion that they had and they just got here, that tells me how much they give a damn about this job. And that's the guys I want in place. Everybody goes, oh, same story, different, whatever. Earlier, our good friend Raphael, shout out to Raphael out there, but same thing. It wasn't the same thing. We haven't had two guys that are coming at the same time, two guys who know each other, who can work well together, all on the same page, who gave a damn about what they're doing. And maybe Miami Kid was watching some other press conference. Maybe he was watching one from 5 years ago or 8 years ago or whenever. Because if I don't know how you can watch today's press conference and go, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They look like they knew exactly what they wanted to do. They knew exactly how they want to build this football team. And it's about damn time we get guys in place who can actually build a foundation and structure. May it work? I don't know. He said it the same thing. Sully said the same thing. He's not going to make any promises. Can't predict the future. But what he can make a promise is how much he's going to put the work in. Did you see Hafley's work at Boston College? What about it? What is it? What about it? Tell me what about Boston College? What about
another record? Another record. If you're gonna talk about it, talk about it. Give me some story. Give me something that happened.
Tell you what,
go to a specific game or something. Another judge just went to the internet and said you had a 5-4 record. That doesn't say anything about the coach.
It's the same thing as somebody says hire a veteran coach, which I wanted. I wanted an experienced coach. I wanted an experienced coach, but it's the same thing as going at like, oh, what if we hired Leslie Frazier? I'm just throwing that out there, Leslie Frazier, and I big respect for Leslie Frazier. You know, or give me another name, Raheem Morris or anybody. What if we did? Oh, there's your experienced coach. But did you see what he did with the Vikings? Did you see what he did with Buffalo? Did you see what Jay Gruden, not John Gruden. Let's hire Jay Gruden. He's an experienced coach.
Yeah.
Did you see what he did there? I don't give a damn about what he did there. I care about right now. He didn't have Sully as his GM. Those were a bunch of kids. Did you let me ask you this, Miami kid, with all respect, and I appreciate you in the comments. I'm going to throw that out there. You all fair comments, right? But how about this? Did you see how many organizations wanted him to interview for their job? You see how popular he is? Did you see all the reactions around the league when he got hired? Did you see that? Did you see how many people interviewed Mike McDaniel when he first came to the Miami Dolphins? 0. Well, Miami Dolphins, 6. Boston College, NFL.
Listen, during COVID.
COVID. Anyway, is what it is. You know,
we're talking about the
press conference.
I'm going to take a breather.
Go ahead.
Just because of the fact that, you're correct. Go to the internet and check what Packers fans are saying about Hafley right now. They say, I've seen so many comments. I did the due diligence. I went and looked, and the Packers fans are saying we lost a good one. We finally get a defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, and he's leaving us. Good luck to him. So many great comments about him. He wasn't my first choice, my second choice, or my third choice. But let's be clear: 6 teams call him to interview. He was a finalist in for sure 2, maybe 4 of them. So that says a lot. I'm going to refer to that about those teams knowing more than I do, because the fact that he was 6 teams call him as soon as he was as an interview is open. That says a lot about him. And Boston College, whatever. Boston College sucks every single year, and more even so during COVID. He knew that he could not do something with the NIL. That money wasn't flowing in Boston College. He got the call from the Packers and said, bye-bye. But he went to the Packers. He did a much better job than anyone before him in a while in Green Bay. So that says a lot. So again, he wasn't my first choice, my second choice, or my third choice. But I can look and say that probably with Dolphins finally did the right choice, because the guy has some head coach experience. He's not an NFL head coach experience, but you know to have to deal with young kids who are millionaires right now, because the NFL is changing. It's not like the days of Sanka and Warfield, when those were grown men, but you can basically manipulate the situation. Today's players are basically Jalen Ramsey, who I had the money. If you don't do what I do, I'm gonna, I've got to force my way out of here and gonna ask for more money. It's not easy to deal with that kind of stuff. You need to know how to build relationships. And everybody who's talking about Hafley says that the guy knows how to build a relationship with his players. So that's great news for me. I again, wasn't my first choice, not even my third choice, but probably they did the correct choice, and I'm happy about that.
So, and I just want to say, I think it's all fair. I think, to question what he did as a head coach is fair, but that would have been for any veteran coach, any experienced coach we would have brought in. You say Mike McCarthy, who had a very good record. He's won a Super Bowl, right? Let's say it was Mike McCarthy. Everyone would have said, well, not everyone, but most people would have said, "Oh, he's burned so many bridges. Oh, he's failed. Look what he only won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. He couldn't do it in Dallas." Same, I mean, Kevin Stefanski. Oh my God, look what he did in Cleveland. Look at his record in Cleveland. He won 2 coaches a year, but look at the mess in Cleveland. You can pull that out anywhere. It's a wait and see. So I'll just say this with respect to Miami Kid and his comments, which I get it. It's fair. You have a right to do that as a fan. So, but I'm going to say, based off what we saw today, I was encouraged. And I think Dolphin fans should be encouraged. He was not my first choice. I even said it because of the connection with Green Bay, because he wasn't. He was like my 4th in line. I said, but when he got hired, just like I did with Mike McDaniel, who was not my first choice, he wasn't my any choice.
Yeah, me neither.
But but you go and say, okay, let's see what happens. But I didn't feel this way about Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer at their press conference. It was wait and see. Here, I felt encouraged because these two guys, and let me tell you another thing that stood out to me, besides the emotion part of it, besides how clear and concise and how focused they were on the plan, that they had all their answers already about what they and how they wanted to do it, was their relationship. Right away, the camaraderie that they could sit together and joke together, and hey man, and he's already telling him, he's it's like these guys are gonna go in this together. They could actually speak to each other. They're not going to be shy about, hey man, we can't use this kid, or hey, yes, we're going to go this route. And they're, they're going to try to work behind the scenes and try to get the owner to be on whose side. No, these guys are going in hand, ready to ride this out. We haven't had that. Their relationship already, you don't need to build that. They already got it in 2 years. You had to worry about that with Greer and McDaniel, Greer and Gase, Greer and whatever. Yeah. Flores. Oh, how long, the honeymoon phase. Then the honeymoon phase over. Can they get over it? Can they be friends? No, they're trying to, sneak one on each other and try to get one ahead. You won't have this here. These guys know each other already. And it was very easy. It was very quick and easy to figure out, listening to not just Sully, but more Hafley, listening to him as soon as he got to the podium, and say, I get it. Now I get why this guy was one of the hottest coaching candidates out there, not named Harbaugh. Now I understand why 6 teams wanted this guy. Now I know why Sully, even though this guy was a defensive back coach and a defensive coordinator, why Hafley with 2 years was like, this is our guy. This is my guy. If I'm going to get a job, and he said it, something Sully said that stood out, Sammy, was he said, I had this job for 22 plus years. I wasn't going to leave for any job. I was comfortable. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to leave for any other job. He had flexibility. He had luxury and whatever. Seniority, whatever, tenure with Green Bay. One of the best jobs in the NFL. One of the most storied organizations in the NFL. He had no reason to leave. He was going to be very selective about his job. He left for Adrian in the house?
Yes, sir.
Rainy Day Pod. Yeah. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're feeling all right, brother. We've been missing you around here, man.
Miss you, my brother.
So, and I'm going to say this. So, just all that. So, Sully took this job because he felt confident in what he can do here. He felt confident, and he knew, we're going to go into with open eyes, and we'll explore everybody's coaching, whatever, and, all the coaches. But he knew, like, hey, if I'm going to go in this, I'm taking this guy with me, and we're going to build a winner. Let me read very quick. Cap says Ross has no hand in this anymore. So, something you brought up on Twitter. That was very obvious if everybody was really paying attention, is when we mentioned John Eric Sullivan. He goes, and this new GM, and he kept saying thorough, right? And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and our new GM, John Eric Sullivan. So that was like, interesting. Let me tell you what it said to me. And I said this on earlier the news show, the news desk show.
Love that, by the way.
As soon as that came up to me, or as soon as I saw it and it hit me, I said, and Cap brings this up right here. That said to me, I don't think he had that big a hand in this. I think he was hands off. Like, they're going to put on the paper, Ross, he's the decision maker. He's the guy. He's our leader. He was leading the charge. But when we've seen him in years past, how proud he is to introduce people, and he knows their name, and he knows this, and he knows that. Today, it just looked like he was a stand-in.
Yeah.
He said, And he said the same thing. And Coach Jeff Hafley did it with Coach too. Makes me think that he actually said, no, Dan Silman, Troy Aikman,
yes.
Sully, you guys lead the way. And then I will be the final say. I'll sit there and I'll do the second part of it. That's what it said to me. So that was very interesting. So Miami Kid, he says, I'll give you a positive. There you go, Miami Kid. He says, they spoke on making the quarterback situation a priority and a competition every year. You're absolutely right. And I loved it, man. I loved it.
Yes.
So very quick on Stephen Ross, man, with that situation there. What did you get from that? I know you made a comment on Twitter, about the PR team needs to do better, but did you get that vibe that I did?
Yeah, absolutely. And, basically not only the way Sullivan said that, he came here and Stephen Ross told him, if you fail, it's on you because I'm going to give you anything you need. We criticize Ross so many times, but nobody can criticize Ross for not trying or for not spending the money. And basically, Sullivan confirmed that. He said Stephen Ross told him, if you fail, it's not going to be for lack of resources. I'm going to give you anything you need. And he's done that with the stadium, with the facilities. The Dolphins are always at the top when the survey comes over the player satisfaction. The Dolphins are always number one. Again, we talked so many times about the grass company, all that crap. Yes, but Stephen Ross basically said to him, I'm going to give you anything you need. It's in your hands. If you fail, it's on you. That's all I want. I'm going to put it in your hands. I'm going to give you anything you want. I'm going to stay out of the way. Hopefully that's what he meant. That's encouraging. And, he could have gone anywhere. Sullivan could have gone. He could have waited. He had it, he's the Packers. People are going to come. He was a candidate last year for the Jets job. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he took himself out or something, but he was a candidate. He's been a candidate before, and he's going to be a candidate again if he doesn't take the Dolphins job. So I'm glad that he did. And, and for Coach Hafley, the same. He had other opportunities. Both came to Miami because they wanted to be here. And Hafley made that statement today also. He said, I want everybody that's listening to know that I came here because I wanted to come here. It's not like, this is a fallback job for me. I wanted to come here. Both wanted to come here. That says a lot. I'm encouraged about that. And yesterday I was with Ashley, 305 Sports on her show, and I underestimated the fact that the relationship. I still don't think they're kind of buddy, but they're gonna be a cohesive unit. They are gonna work together. I think that the best thing the Dolphins did was basically starting over. For me, I would have fired Brandon Short too, and we'll start everything over from the beginning. But they did basically the best thing they could. You have a new GM and a coach working together, coming from the same side, coming from this organization, knowing what they have to do and know the challenge ahead. If they're capable, and if they're as capable as they seem to be, I don't know. We might have a bright future. We just don't know. We've been so wrong so many times where we feel encouraged and we fail. Maybe this time the expectations are lower and the ceiling is higher.
Well, and that's why I want to say, I think that's a great point because we've all been there, right? We all, as Dolphin fans, every time there's a turnaround, like a new coach or, when it was a new GM, this is it. And we fall for it. So that's why I understand some people are kind of, again, like, I'm not falling for that again. I'm not saying that, the Super Bowl now. No, what I'm saying is we finally got two guys in here who are passionate about their jobs.
Yes.
Who wanted to be here when they had other options, despite how you feel about them. That's the facts. Mm-hmm. And these two, like you said, are going to be a cohesive unit, both on the same page, both with the same idea of where this team is and where they want it to go. So I'm not, and again, he said it, not making any promises. I'm saying the same thing. I'm not saying this what this is going to lead to. We don't know until we see what the final roster is going to be, season 1, season 2, season 3, whatever. What I can say is, though, for the first time, I feel we have two guys on the same page. They're going to build this, hopefully, the right way. Let me throw some of these comments out here. Yes, Detroit made Trimmy Johnson and the Wannstedt tree. Really cool to hear Dave Wannstedt's name earlier today as well. Coach Half worked for Wannstedt in Pittsburgh.
Wow, that's been a while.
Duke says Hafley said he wants to call plays on defense. Weaver still want to stay in Miami. Weaver, more than likely, if he doesn't get the job with Pittsburgh, because now the Ravens hired Jesse Minter, will probably go to the Giants to be their defensive coordinator with John Harbaugh. That is the
we
assumption.
get nothing, and we get nothing.
So, so no, I do not expect Weaver to stay in Miami. That's a very, very, very little chance because he wouldn't call plays. We do have some names on possible defensive coordinators, and I think the names that you would look at, probably not a vet defensive coordinator or guys that call that, a guy who probably want to call plays. You're probably going to get a guy, these younger guys who are on the ups, who are trying to get in there. These pass game coordinators or these linebacker coaches, position coaches. Those are guys we're probably looking at DC, and we're going to get into some of those names. And I'll just say too, in regards to Stephen Ross, to me, when I hear the way he was talking and that part where Sully said, I'm just going to reveal what he told me, that told me two things. One, his patience is very thin because he's like, I don't want to hear anything. I'm not giving you guys enough. I'm doing my part. And then the second, this might be his last hurrah as the owner in regards of this type of change, especially when you see his daughters and you see his son-in-law and how involved he was and how involved they seem to be now that they're showing their face, that they're in front of the cameras. You never really saw them, saw
in the room.
No, they've been in foundations and stuff. You have to Google their daughters to see them. Now you saw them today. So to me, I felt like this is this is the last time I'm doing this, because when this does come again, it's going to be them. If hopefully they don't have to deal with it again. Hopefully they made the right choice, but that's how I felt. Michael Desiree, draft Drew Allard, the next Josh Allen type leader. Drew Allard may, depending on how he does in the combine, in the offseason, it depends on where he's going to get drafted. But again, what they said about quarterback, you could expect a quarterback in this draft, wherever that may be. We're going to get into that as well. We'll get into it right now, but I just want to I think Troy Aikman was key hiring from Ross, worth every cent. Jose, you're absolutely right. I'm with you.
I agree. I agree.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very honest with you, just because of how this process ran out, how, everything. Like, I would love to hear today that he's hired on as the consultant advisor, whatever. Keep him long term, keep him in that.
Hopefully that wrong side pin means something. Means that basically, he's going to stay.
Right. I hate this hire. No, just playing. I was like, you must have trust and believe. But he also said, though, you can't have blind trust. It's his job to earn our trust. That's one thing he said. You're right, day one. He did bring up trust and belief, but he said, not blind trust. I have to earn your trust. And that's what he's going to set out to do. Quarterback, very quick. We're going to get into coaching staff, candidates, all this. But Colin says, this press conference reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys, Jimmy Jerry introductory press conference. Hopefully we can have similar results.
1x16, baby. Here we come.
Hopefully. There goes Christopher Shorter. I like Drew Allard in the third, or Heinz King in the fifth. There you go. Throwing some names out. Love it.
I would love. So I can't wait to see that Drew Allard third time. I can't wait to see that Drew Allard third time. That will say a lot when he runs that 40.
I know.
I can't wait.
And again, this is the type of draft that if you don't have the number one pick, and you're not going to get Fernando Mendoza, who's freaking unbelievable. Oh, wow. The heart, the dude's everything you want in a franchise quarterback, and may not be the perfect. There's some things you need to work on as a player, but in regards of champion, captain, person, everything you want to represent your team, that's who he is. With the John Elway dive in, which killed me, but it was impressive. Yeah. But if you don't have the number one pick, this is a good draft for. Like, you go, okay, I don't need to get a quarterback in the first. I don't need to get one in the second. I get one in the third. Oh, that's Drew Allard? Great. Fifth round, maybe Heinz King. Fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever. Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor? Maybe. So there's different names out there that we could talk about. What happens with Trinidad and from Ole Miss? Maybe. So there's a lot. There's interesting names. But, Sammy, I was so happy, first off, when they asked the question about the coaching responsibilities, but then they asked about the quarterback. And I was like, I don't want to say I'm pretty sick, but I got up and I stood in front of the TV and I'm listening to it because the audio sucked. And when they asked about the quarterback position, I kind of went, whoo, You know, like, I'm like, thank you. And Tati turned around and she's like, you're a freaking kid. I was like, whatever. You know, I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
You know, do you see that youthful joy? But first off, I understood the answer. He said, look, I'm going to be lying to you if I told you any which way, because we haven't made that decision yet. It makes sense. He needs to go in, go watch film, go to look at the contract. How can we get out of this? Should we get out of it? I do know that one thing he said that you and I have been banging the table on in regards of a point. Yeah, best case scenario, get rid of it. Cut Tua, get over, right? Here's the problem with that. It'll kill your cap. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. He brought up a point, which I don't have the exact quote, but something that I grabbed onto when he said, we got to explore all options, but we can't do something. We have to be responsible with the cap. You know, we're going to be active free agency, but we're going to be responsible because of our cap situation. I think they may try to figure out something if they decide Tua is absolutely gone, but it's not going to be in the way people think. Maybe it is a post June 1st. Maybe it's something, but if it's going to kill their cap, I don't see them doing it. I think they're going to be very responsible. If they're going to hold on to him, they're going to hold on to him and go from there. But what you heard about the quarterback situation and the thing where they said, where he brought up the Packers history, drafting Aaron Rodgers when they had Brett Favre, drafting Jordan Love when they had Aaron Rodgers in his prime, drafting a quarterback every other year, Matt Flynn, Hasselbeck. They signed Warner. They had he said that. He said, we will draft a quarterback every year or every other year. And depending on how we're doing at quarterback, it depends. That will be the value of where we're going to get him. So if we have the franchise guy, we're golden. We may get a guy in the 7th, 6th, 5th round. And he said, and if we hit on any of these guys, that's trade value. Because those guys are, you remember Matt Flynn back in the day? Everybody wanted him as a Dolphin. Remember?
Flynn Sanity.
I'm about to sneeze. But I'm going to mute my mic in a second in case I have to sneeze. But what's your reaction to what he said about the quarterback situation and their plans at quarterback and in free agency in the draft?
Let's start with the Tua situation. We talked so many times during the season about it's not gonna be that easy to just basically cut Tua and cut Tyreek and take that cap hit this year. It's like those pills in the movies. If you take that cyanide pill, you're dead. So the Dolphins are in a tough situation. That's the truth. So I had so many discussions with Evan about the disagreement that Tua was killed this team. He's the third backup quarterback. They cannot. I still don't think he would. I think he behaved himself very well around the trading deadline. Maybe, who knows? Maybe something bites him during the trade deadline. We can trade to the trade deadline because he behaved. I have no idea, but I'm still not convinced that I agree that the 2 hours is over. That's for sure. That unless he comes back, and I don't think it will, with a new body, a completely different body, come next season. That I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that the deterioration of the hips and the concussions has taken its toll on his career. That's a fact. So I don't think that's gonna happen. So, but he might come back as a third quarterback, as a backup quarterback. Who knows? That's one part. That's still undefined. We'll still don't know what's gonna happen. That's a problem. On the drafting a quarterback every single year, I kind of love that because that comes from Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf used to do that with the Packers, with my Hungers there. That's what Hasselbeck, like you said, Flynn, and so many others. They know how to draft well, and they double down so many times. They've done it on a quarterback. Like I said, I think about it last week. When you do that, you might end up with an unbalanced roster because you have a surplus in certain position. Having a surplus at quarterback is never bad. If you have two basically good backup quarterbacks, there's a good chance you might be able to trade one of them because that's the position that really expensive. Teams like value, so you can be able to trade a backup quarterback every single year. You can develop that. That would be awesome. It's complicated. I don't think they even know by now what's going to happen. They don't know. They're going to have to move a lot of money to get under the cap before the free agency, the New Year's of the free agency. So I think they're going to basically now they're going to be able to sit down, do a plan to know what they're going to be able to do. But if you ask me, I don't think they don't know what they're going to do yet. They might know what they want to do, but I'm not sure they know they can do it. So we have to wait and see.
No, great points. Great points. So again, it is just wait and see. And forgive me. It's like, oh, this is all coming there. Like I got my eyes all over. So I'm not crying, folks.
Now you're getting better.
Yeah. So, it is wait and see. But again, I think we both could say is after this press conference, we're encouraged to see what happens, and we're excited to see what's next. See how the draft plays out first, 100%. And again, I think you have the 11th pick. They could go BPA, but they also could trade down and just stockpile picks and try to just build that way. One thing they brought up, Coach Half, as they were asked about, which again, great question from the media. I forget who specifically asked it, but when they said, about, because I would prefer coach to delegate, but he said he's going to coach the defense. He likes to play calls. I get it. I understand his reasoning, but he also said, in regards of offense, he's going to be very involved. He wants a run first team, ground and pound. They want a good quarterback. They want to build around that quarterback with good weapons and a front offensive line. I'm going to tell you, he said they brought up, either Tua Ewers, because they're going to say that Tua Ewers or whoever's not in this building. They already know the answer. They're not going to say the answer because they want to be for sure. But they know the answer, I think. But I think if you're Devon Achin, if you are any other, Tua or Ewers, and you think you have an opportunity, you should be smiling right now. These guys are going to be dedicated about building that front end, building that offensive line out. They're going to be thinking about running that ball, which Achin loves. But also, again, for those who think running back might not be an option, we don't know what they think at all. Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon Moore. But don't sleep on a running back in free agency or in the draft, at any point. I said it earlier. I said, if you're a draft guy, start working on running backs. If draft guys, start working on quarterbacks. I see everybody's throwing names out there. That is awesome. And I will say this. I know we like the big names. I know Arch Manning is a name in the future, but again, I don't see this team tanking. I just don't. They could strip it. They could do their best, but I don't see them actively trying to lose. They're going to want to win with what they've got because they got to instill that culture in there. They're not going to instill a bunch of losers, a losing football. Sammy, you got something to say?
No. Basically, I think I do believe they're gonna bring that to the studs. Like they mix everything. They're cleaning over. They're doing cleanse. They're gonna keep the nucleus, a small nucleus that might be good enough to win us, 6 games, but that doesn't mean they're gonna tank. So that's very different. You might have have your Brooks, your Age, and your Waddle, but that's not enough to win 10 games, 8 games, or even 7 games. If the quarter situation is iffy, that doesn't mean they're tanking. That just doesn't mean that the team is still not good enough to win. So it's a complete difference. I don't think a lot of fans are gonna say if we start losing, we're tanking. Not necessarily, but I think they're gonna be patient. I said it the last week. I don't think it's gonna be a quick rebuild. I think they're gonna take their time. If you see a model of the team, I think they're probably Hafley and Sullivan want to be. I will look to the 97 kind of Broncos. A kind of team that runs the ball. A mobile quarterback, big wide receivers, physical down the middle, that kind of team. That kind of team has not been in the NFL for a while, So basically, when you do that, it's like the mentality Bill Parcells used to have. If the train's going somewhere, then you can go into draft and basically there are going to be a lot of plays available to the system you're trying to run. So that might be interesting. If they go big wide receiver, big up the middle, trying to run the ball, but everybody's looking for the 6'2", kind of 4.3 wide receiver that can run, and you have a 4'4" wide receiver that's 6'5", 6'4", top wide receiver that can basically block well on the run. Those guys might be available in the 3rd round, 4th round. So it might be interesting. If we're smarter, not harder, kind of mentality but that's the thing. I kind of sense they're going to do that. The 97 Broncos, run the ball a lot, physical wide receivers, and a strong defense of the middle.
And I will say too, I see Malik Willis's name pop up. From watching that, I wouldn't hold my breath. From watching the press conference, I wouldn't hold my breath because I don't know how much they're willing to give out. And Malik Willis might command a good dollar, which he deserves. If we end up putting him for their decent amount, that's great. But I will say too, you've seen Brett Favre. We all seen Brett Favre, one of the favorite quarterbacks to watch back in the day for me. Aaron Rodgers, similar. Run, can throw, can take a hit. Jordan Love. You think about what type of quarterback those guys always took. Sully was involved in. Maybe start looking at those type of quarterbacks going forward with Miami. I want to make sure I don't want to forget something I saw coming here. First off, Manzano in the house. Let's see here. Run the ball, play defense. Jose, I want the quarterback to be the point guard of the team, not the main guy, although very important. I think that's the case too. I think that's what they were saying. I mean, if you end up with a guy who could be a main, like a great player, like the Rodgers of the day and Favre and whatever, great. Caleb Downs or David Bailey at 11. Hey, could happen. And the defense, I think defense is probably more likely the pick at 11 right now, but we'll see how it goes out. All right. Mark Ditcher. Tua could not pass a physical, so trade is out of the question. Maybe IR next year. We'll see. We will see. Moving on. Let's talk about, we know Coach Hafley is going to coach defense. Let's start with that, and then we'll get into offense. I was going to start with offense, but first, shout out to everybody tuning in. We got almost 550 people watching right now here through social media. You got YouTube, Facebook. Appreciate you all tuning in. If you're anywhere other than YouTube, do me a favor. Whenever you get a chance, hop on over, hit that subscribe button and likes button. But we appreciate wherever you're watching from. Appreciate you all doing that. Anthony, you can tell Anthony's here. What's up, Anthony? Do you think convinces Alonzo Highsmith to come to Miami? Don't know. I don't know. We'll see what type of front office he puts together. Could it happen? Possibly. I'm more intrigued, Anthony, respectfully. I'm more intrigued by the coaching staff put together and how that's going to work. Because that's one thing that a lot of people are going to hold against Hafley. A lot of people wanted that experienced coach because they're like, I might bring a better staff together. You think about John Harbaugh. He's going to bring Todd Monken more than likely to the Giants. He's going to bring Anthony Weaver. That's even though we just had Weaver. A lot of people would prefer that type of coaching staff compared to what we might get. How likely do you think that is Jeff Hafley convinces Anthony Weaver to stay? Unlikely. I think it's very unlikely he convinces Anthony Weaver to stay. You never know. But if I was to say percentage, 99.9% chance Anthony Weaver is gone. He's going to probably go to the Giants. Let's talk about defense coordinators right now. These are the type of guys I'm thinking for the Miami Dolphins. All right. These guys are precision coaches. You got Tim Lacabo from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's the linebackers coach. He's worked with Hafley before in the past, I believe at Boston College. Sean Duggan, Green Bay linebackers coach. These are guys because if Hafley is going to call plays, he's going to need a guy who can help him design plays, manage the defense while he's the head coach, and do that. These are guys. That's kind of what happens. We saw that with Mike McDaniel. They get position coaches to be their coordinators when they're going to do it. Al Harris, he actually just interviewed for the Green Bay job. He's a Green Bay Hall of Famer. Corner. He's the defensive backs coach and the passing game coordinator with Chicago. He's doing one hell of a job. This guy's going to be a head coach one day. But I that's a guy that I would like to see Miami interview.
Yes.
Durante Jones, Minnesota passing game coordinator. Another guy that would be great. Two guys that have connections with, besides Sean Duggan, obviously, there's three Packers guys here, but all good. Derek Ansley, Green Bay passing game coordinator. DeMarcus Covington, the D-line coach for Green Bay. These are guys that I think may be interviewed or should be interviewed and possibly could be defensive coordinators for the Miami Dolphins with, of course, not having the play call duties. That would be up to Coach Hafley. But, Sammy, what do you think of these group of guys? And is there anybody you think I should have mentioned?
First of all, when Hafley says that he's gonna call the defense, if you ask me, that kind of limits the pool because a lot of those guys would love to come to Miami and basically be able to call their own plays. That gives a better chance to be a head coach eventually. So it's not everyone is Mike McDaniel, who's basically the wrong coordinator, and so being a head coach, that doesn't happen very often. You need to call your own plays. Or Philbin was another case like that, but that's kind of rare. So. that limits the pool of people. Al Harris is the name that basically jumps on for me because the Bears did such a great job on defense. He knows how to play with the elements. He's been a player recently. He knows how to deal with players and how to motivate them. That says a lot for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Anthony Weaver interviewed for the Miami head coaching job. So that basically tells you that that situation, that relationship is out the door. I don't think there's a way of Anthony Weaver coming back to the Dolphins. Did he interview for the Dolphins job? I don't remember if he did.
No, he didn't. No.
So that kind of says a lot. That the fact that he didn't give it interview as a head coach, I will not get my hopes up that he comes back to Miami. I think they basically want to cleanse everything and they want to move on. They're gonna keep him for now because, of course, if he gets a head coaching job, the Dolphins gets two third-round picks. So that doesn't make any sense to basically fire the coaching staff. Probably they're gonna interview basically the coaches. I'm thinking they're gonna keep a lot of the coaches right now from the Dolphins. My the coaching staff wasn't bad, there was not a criticism of the coaching staff. So I expect Hafley to keep some of the coaches from the McDaniel era. So Harris is the one jumps for me. But again, I do believe that the fact that any defensive coordinator is going to come here is not going to call his own plays. He's going to limit the pool.
So yeah, and I think that's why this is the group of guys I went with. Tim Luckaboo, which was it Christopher brings up, which is great. He worked with him in Boston College. He was, I think, his defensive coordinator in Boston College. Now he serves as a linebackers coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Christopher, you're absolutely right. That probably makes him the front of the line, right? Al Harris is the guy I would be excited about. Even though he wouldn't be calling plays, I think he could be a leader of men. I think he could get in the player's face and still do that without having to call plays. And Anthony, I honestly think Jeff Hafley's not just looking in Green Bay coaching staff. He's going to look at Sean McVay too, defensive side. Absolutely. We're going to get into it, Miami sports, in just a second. Anthony, yes, I don't think he's only look at Green Bay, but with the defense, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Even though I think Tim Luckaboo's and I hopefully I'm not butchering that, but I think he's in the front of the line because of the experience he already has with him in Boston College, and obviously he has a pro experience. But with defense, it's a little different, especially since he's calling plays and the other guy won't. Covington, Duggan, Ansley, those guys are familiar, just like Luckaboo. They're familiar with Coach Hafley. They know what type of defense he likes to run. They know what type of defense he likes to design and run. So that's why those guys are more than likely on that short list. And we don't know what that short list is going to reveal yet. We do know Jared Johnson for OC. He's been interviewed. He's the Texans quarterback coach. We do know that Carlos Polk is interviewing for the special teams coordinator position. So we do have some names. So Sammy, you're right though. Because they're not calling plays, that's why this is a shorter list. I know, somebody wants to throw names out there, Bobby Babich or whatever. I think it's very hard for a coach who's called plays, who's been a coach who calls play coordinator to go into this type of role. Basically, you're the secondary guy. So, so let's get into what everybody really cares about right now, and that's the offensive side of the ball. Our offensive coordinator, even though it wasn't his job title, he was the head coach, but our play caller was Mike McDaniel. McDaniel's gone now. More than likely, Frank Smith is gone. Darrell Bevell, maybe not. We don't know. We know he has a relationship with Hafley and company. We know John Embry might still remain as the tight ends coach. He has a relationship with Hafley and Sullivan. So they've been together before. So that's something to look at. But offensive coordinator, it's interesting. So these are the names that I come up with. So we know for sure Johnson is going to interview for the job. He's the Dolphins requested the Texans to interview him. He's the QB coach in Houston. Sean Mannion, the quarterbacks coach for Green Bay. A name that has gotten popular around the league. He's interviewed for a few head coaching spots, but it doesn't look like he's going to get anything. He's the pass game coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams, which is Nate Skorhasi. I'm probably butchering that, but he's on the ups. Here, he would get to call plays. He would get to have a young offense that he could build on with Devon Achane, maybe a young quarterback with weapons. So this is a name that I would keep an eye on. We'll see. Steve Shemko, another popular name with Dolphins connected to his job, Dallas quarterback coach. Israel Wolfork, Arizona quarterback coach. We saw what happened with Arizona this year. Kyler Murray and then Jacoby Brissett. They were able to kind of survive with that whole mess. Another name that might be a popular name for the Dolphins job is Brian Angelico, or Angelico. I'm probably butchering that, but it's okay. Excuse me, Minnesota pass game coordinator. Mike Kafka. He's the former Giants offensive coordinator with Brian Daboll. I think Daboll called plays. I don't think it was Kafka, former quarterback in this league, did decent as the interim head coach for the Giants. I think he's a name to keep an eye on. And I think he, again, the opportunity to call plays. Josh Gizzard, he's the former Tampa Bay offensive coordinator. I think he used to work in Miami. I forgot what he did there, but that's another name. Honorable mentions: Brian Daboll, Joe Brady. Again, these are guys, they're going to get to call plays. So these are games, you don't have to sleep on. I know a popular name for Dolphin fans, Cliff Kingsbury. And then another name there, Dan Pitcher from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's not there anymore, but he is there. He was the offensive coordinator, but he didn't call plays. So they gave him permission to go and find a job where he could call plays. But Sammy, you see these names up here. We know for sure Gerard Johnson is interviewing for the job. So they're going young. They're not going just to the Green Bay tree. They went to Houston. How do you feel about these names? Is there any names that stand out to you, and any names you think we should have brought up?
First of all, the question for the chat question will be: have any candidate from the Packers have been allowed to interview for the Dolphins? Because if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I said that the Packers have basically a tendency to don't allow coaches that leave follow, and they take guys from the pool of coaches that they have. So it will be interesting if they finally allow a Packers assistant to interview for a Miami job. You have to keep an eye on that. I like the list. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm kind of worried about one thing. If Hafley, probably had an idea he's going to be head coach, if I were interviewing Hafley, I told you a couple of weeks ago, that would have been my first question. Who's going to be your offensive coordinator? And the fact that basically has such a large pool of candidates right now, it kind of gets me worried. I would have thought that he had someone, a connection with someone that when the day I become a head coach, you'll be my offensive coordinator and you're going to follow me. Maybe that's the Packers guy. That's basically the reason that he cannot come to Miami with him. I don't know, but it kind of worries me that he's been a candidate for a couple of weeks now. I would expect for him to have a leading candidate, to have more clear perspective of who will be the offensive coordinator. Having said that, I like the list that you put together. I think it's a strong list. I love the list. It's kind of amazing that, and I agree with you that some of the most known candidates, Brian Daboll, Joe Brady, Cliff Kingsbury, are all of our mentions. That's kind of interesting. There's a large pool of young up-and-coming play callers that could be the offensive coordinator of the Dolphins. I agree with you. The guy that pops out to me, I'm not gonna butcher his last name. I'm gonna call him Little Nate. Like Little Nate's like woo, Little Nate from the Rams. He's been in the eye. I think the Steelers. I think he has the eye of the Bills. He's the kind of guy. It's been rumored for him to be an up and coming, and that would be interesting. Someone who can bring a different perspective on coaching. I would love for him to get an opportunity because Shinko, I think, is the guy that has been the most talked about before he took the Dolphins job. That if he was going to be the head coach, he will bring Shinko as a offensive coordinator. We'll have to wait and see. But it's a strong list. It's a good list. A lot of young candidates. Kafka, has some interim head coaching experience, so that kind of brings him, like a offensive heart of the ball head coach. So that kind of be appealing. But someone like Little Nate will do it for me. With something just new, innovative, and I would love to see something like that for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Nate Skilhassy.
You're much better than me, Bobby. I'm not gonna even try. I'm not gonna even try. I just find a way how to say Benagani. Don't try to mean something new.
I know, right? Christopher says kind of the same thing. His only concern with Hafley, it was said that Hafley had a different OC every year while at Boston College.
It's Boston College.
But they said the same thing about Flores, right? Flores couldn't keep a coach. Guys were changing. The only time I think that's a good thing is if you had a great year and everybody wants your guy. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's probably what, if you get Nate Skilhassy, butchering his name, but you get him, you saw how many job interviews he got this year. A lot of teams seem to be interested. He's a bright guy, probably bright future in this league. He might be a one and done. Maybe, maybe Matt Kafka's a one and done. But Brian Angelicio, I'm going to butcher that name, but whatever. he's a guy that
Angelico, right? Angelico.
I think I'm going to roll with you. I'm going to roll with that. Since you can't say the other name, I'll let you say that one. I think you're on the money. So that's a name to look at too. So it's very intriguing. I think you're right. I think they have to have asked, or, like, hey, do you have any ideas? Do you have anybody that in mind for your coaching staff? And he probably threw some names out there. But again, what I like is they cast a wide net, because you don't know. They might meet a guy who they know, who they don't, they're familiar, and he tells them something, and they're like, this is the guy we want. This is the guy they want. Christopher says, I would like for Hafley to hire a veteran offensive coordinator, not an experiment for the first-time coordinator. Being that offense is not Hafley's skill set. Fair enough. And we don't know. The OC job is such a blank slate. You know what I mean? You know, this is going to be just as important as the head coaching job. We would just have to hope that they got a plan in place about how they're going to run this. So Brian says, Gerard Johnson, I do not want. I
would love someone from the Rams, because they basically had that pat down formula of being a southern team that goes to the north and find ways to win. The Rams have been doing this lately. I want to do some of that cool. So someone from the Rams, basically from my base, being so innovative. I would love something like that. They've been doing something right with the Rams, because they've been going up north and winning every single time. So something that the Rams will do for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Oh man, but anyway, so there you guys have it. Those are the names that we discuss here. Possible OCs, DCs for Miami. Love the names that you guys have brought up. If you're watching the show post when we're done, throw in the comments who you think should be the next OC DC for the Miami Dolphins. Keep in mind with DC, they're not calling plays, so that's why we had some these first timers, position coaches on there. Miami Kid, great question. How many years are you guys giving this regime if they flop year one? Maybe a one and done, at least for the coach, in my opinion. Sammy, I'll let you answer that one.
I think that basically the first, when you get a couple of bad grades, and the teacher said, I'm going to throw the bad grade out. I think that's first year. I don't spend a lot from the first year. I think everybody knows that they inherit a mess financially with the Dolphins, a mess at the quarterback position. They have to be taken into consideration. So I've said it before. I want Hafley to have a team that's capable, that's cohesive, that doesn't play stupid, that kind of innovative, that doesn't do a lot of penalties. If he's outman, and basically we lost to a team because the team, we know the roster is not the best roster in the world, I can live with that. So that first year, well, it's probably the first few years, but I'm gonna give him one. I'm only gonna give him one. That first year, basically, you can toss out. Hopefully, they can find a way to write off the Tua impact, the Tariq impact on year two, and be better. But if he finds a way to be a leader and be respected by his peers and be respected by the team, and the team that plays hard doesn't quit, that first year is going to be a success no matter what the record is.
And I think that's right. But I'll say too, how many years are you giving this regime if they fly? Look, if this was Chris Greer, maybe. But because you hired Sully and he got his guy in Hafley, this is not going to be a one and done. Unless they go 0-18, 0-17, and it's a complete disaster.
And even so, because we're going to get first overall.
Yeah, I don't see.
We're going to be doing cartwheels.
Yeah, I don't see this as a one and done. I don't see this as a two and whatever. I don't see this. They give him a 5-year deal, and I know usually 5 years is usually a 3-year window. Usually, what happens if if your team's a total disaster, then they close it out. But yeah, because it's two guys coming at the same time, they know each other. The leadership seems to be sold, at least on their philosophy. This won't be a one and done. Anybody hoping for that?
It's not going to be on camera.
Hold your breath.
No way.
Yeah, there's not going to happen. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Get a vet OC like Dayball or Kingsbury. Maybe. Again, get a couple of year. Call it offense. Give you. You have a job. You have a chance to call an offensive. Playbook. Nobody's calling them for you. That usually gives you the short route to get to a head coaching job. It could happen. But anyway, Sammy, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up, brother?
Basically, the Dolphins did everything we asked them to do during the offseason. During the season, they brought the team to the studs. They find a way to cleanse the franchise. It's gonna be, it's gonna be a process. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. I think I thought it was Perk or someone else saying that. I don't see it was Homer Jelly or whatever. That this is gonna be a quick turnaround. I'm not expecting that. Hopefully so, but I don't expect that. I expect that this team knows what they have to do. They tend to clear financials. They have to take it slow. I'm encouraged about the fact they're gonna start looking for a quarterback this draft, because I do believe that's what they're gonna draft, a quarterback. So just keep drafting quarterbacks until you hit. Hopefully, if we get a better pick next year, we have a top 3 pick in the draft, or maybe the top of all pick, and Manning is there and he's the guy. Grab him. That you don't have to handcuff yourself by saying that we drafted a 3rd-round quarterback last year and we have to trust the process and wait for him to develop. No, I'm encouraged with that, because I believe that quarterback is the key position. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have nothing in the NFL. So I left that conference encouraged. I think that we won the day, and hopefully it's a start for brighter days to come for the Dolphins.
Absolutely. Mighty Sports. No, I want Jeremiah Smith next year. Hell yeah, man. Jeremiah Smith, that dude is scary good. Love Jeremiah Smith. Should McDermott be considered? Wouldn't that be a home run hire? If that would actually happen. Given that would probably be a year gig. Let's just be real. And that's why. So here's my thing. Very quick. I wanted, I like the idea that it's like hire a coach who failed as a head coach, get him as an OC, because that way no teams want him right away. That's fine, right? Because you got that stability, that consistency. But if we really want a decent offensive coordinator, especially since they're going to be calling plays, if they're successful, like we want them to be, they're more than likely not going to be here long term. It's probably a one and done or 2 years and out. So something to remember. I think Darren Monsa is going to turn himself to a top 5 pick next year. I believe Darren Monsa is going to be very good. It's going to be good. Bevel, I think we won't be surprised if he finds a way to stay on the team. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. I expect a lot of guys from the Montana. I expect some of the guys from the Montana coaching staff to stay. More.
Yeah, I do too. John Embry, I believe is going to stay. I'd be shocked if he's not, or him and Bevel. But we'll see. But anyway, of course, it's not boring here in Dolphins land. This week will be fun because we're going to be figuring out the coordinators. Maybe by next Thursday night, I'll be better, 100%. Not freaking dying here in a migraine, and all stuffed up. But maybe we'll have some coordinators hired. We'll get to look at that, and then we'll get into free agency talk and draft talk. We are here on FTSN doing that with the Dolphins draft show, the Finstock draft show on the clock. If you guys haven't started watching that yet, that's Monday nights 8 p.m. Josh Wingate, Coach Vogel, myself. We're going to highlight edge rushers this next coming Monday and continue to talk about the Dolphins and how what Hafley and Sully have talked about, and maybe where that means for the Dolphins draft going forward. Fitz TV, you got the end of the year award show coming up. Talk about it, brother.
February 3rd, we're working on production of Fins TV Awards. February 3rd. I'm gonna send the ballots probably tomorrow for them to vote on the Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and the MVP. You're gonna your list tomorrow, so you have the whole week to send me back your ballot for who's gonna win the award. So we're gonna be working on that the whole week.
There you go. I like that, Tim Big Riggins. I like that. I would rather see head coaches from staff get poached for head coaching gigs rather than cycle them out when they get fired. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. That's why I say I don't want to coach it. Guy gets picked every year. That's fine. Because if they're getting hired for head coaching gigs, that means that we got a good one, and then more guys are going to want to come. Kind of like what you're seeing with the Hurricanes. Cam Ward did great. You see this guy come in, Carson Beck. National championship. Now Monsa's coming next year. It's kind of like that. You want that, but let's go for OC. This will be very interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, FTSN, Finstock Sports Network. Got a lot of great content on here. Dolphins, Heat, baseball, Marlins, wrestling, college football, fantasy sports. We got it all here on FTSN. We'll continue to grow, continue to build. If you're a diehard Dolphins fan, of course you want to stay here and subscribe because you get great content, but also logos right there above your head. above Sammy's head, Fins TV and FTSN, Fins TV. If you love quality content, like legit, like, wow, is this a TV show? Is this YouTube? Go check out Fins TV. Not just great content, but great debates, great, panel, killer crew there. Love, those guys are great. They love each other, family friendly, all that whatnot. Well, maybe not family friendly, but because they get pretty much
with each other. We're kind of family friendly.
That's family. That's a family environment. But yeah, other Fins content creators, you guys go check out. You got Miss Fins out there. Rainy Day Podcast, who was in there earlier. Those are guys you guys want to subscribe to. You got the Fins Faithful podcast.
After us, go watch Fins Faithful. They're doing Jason and George are doing
their draft show.
So after us, go
the
there.
Fins Faithful War Room show. George and Jason Sarney, go check them out. Great draft content in there as well. So hop on over, go check them out. Give them a shout out. Let them know, hey, Fitz Talk Today sent you guys over there. Let them know.
Yeah. Put in the chat. You send us over here.
Let them know.
All right. Do they have a chat thing? Like,
yeah, there's a type of way. Appreciate you. I love you, brother. Evan's like, screw you guys. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and most importantly, as always, Fins up, Miami.